In the 1982 documentary about Werner Herzog, The Burden of Dreams, the German auteur described his entire directorial ethic with this quote: "Without dreams, we would be cows in a field, and I don't want to live like that. I live my life, or I end my life, with this project." This is not an inspirational thought, as Herzog's body of work shows. From his most recent film, The Cave of Forgotten Dreams, to his earliest success with Agore, The Wrath of God, Werner Herzog has evolved the theme of dreams. In this analysis of one of the final sequences in Agore, we will attempt to view the film in the context of this quote. Agore is the first in a tradition of collaboration between director Werner Herzog and eccentric German-Polish actor Klaus Kinski. Many of these films continue Herzog's theme of dreams. These are not dreams one has while asleep, but dreams that captivate and motivate people to seek seemingly unattainable goals. These dreams have the potential to either ruin or fulfill. In what is possibly Herzog's signature film, Fitzcarraldo, the titular character, played by Kinski, dreams of building an opera house in a small Peruvian village. This eventually motivates the character to try to move a steamboat, laden with rubber, over a small isthmus. The film acknowledges how impossible this is. However, Herzog is infamous for actually having accomplished it for the film. The Burden of Dreams is about the making of Fitzcarraldo, and when Herzog says that he lives his life or ends his life by this project, he's not kidding. His dream in The Burden of Dreams is to make a film of Fitzcarraldo, just as the character Fitzcarraldo's dream is to build an opera house. In the end, they both succeed to some extent, in ways different than they originally intended. This is not the case with Agore. In Agore, the titular character, again played by Klaus Kinski, does end his life with this project. The project, in Agore, is the similarly impossible goal of conquering South America with an expedition of 40 men, and finding the mythical city of gold El Dorado.
The ship sequence in Aguirre begins with Okello and Brother Gaspar looking into the distance. They're part of Aguirre's starving expedition on a raft moving in circles. They are fatigued, hungry, and feverish. Okello tells Brother Gaspar that he sees a ship stuck in a tall tree. Brother Gaspar replies that the ship is in your imagination. He says, "We all have the fever, it's just a mirage." Herzog then shows us the ship in the characters' minds. Aguirre insists that the ship is real. After Aguirre commands them to take the ship, Gaspar, clearly delirious, refuses to go with Aguirre. Instead of arguing again that the ship is imaginary, Gaspar refuses to go with Aguirre because the crew is weak and hungry. Throughout the film, Gaspar has been one of the more reasonable characters. However, here Gaspar indulges Aguirre's fantasy. He's still acting as the voice of reason. Aguirre's plans, while too ambitious, are ones you can imagine a 16th century Spanish conquistador attempting. Here, however, Aguirre's plan is clearly insane. At this point, the situation is completely hopeless, because the two are discussing a mirage. Okello begins to disbelieve everything he sees. That is no ship, that is no forest. This is punctuated by Okello being struck by an arrow, to which he replies, "That is no arrow." Aguirre springs into action, firing the cannon. He is still fighting to survive in a hopeless situation. Both characters' attitudes are expressed somewhat humorously by Gaspar in the next shot. Gaspar is covered in its own blood after taking an arrow, to which he states, "This is no rain." Aguirre then steps on Gaspar's sword as he attempts to fight back. The last shot in the sequence is Floris, Aguirre's daughter, standing before an opaque jungle. At first nothing seems wrong, but another arrow from this jungle claims Floris. After this point, Aguirre is left surveying the river and the surrounding jungle, and in his thoughts he still dreams of conquering the entire Spanish Empire.
This sequence has a few of Herzog's favorite visual motifs present. The first is showing characters who are out of the appropriate place and time for them. The characters in Aguirre are dressed for Spanish courts, but inhabit the untamed Amazonian jungle. This juxtaposition is what the film's all about: absurdity. The second visual motif is very obvious: boats. Boats are present in many Herzog films for different purposes. In Aguirre, the raft is an island of civilization, floating through the wilderness and slowly collapsing. The ship in the tree represents Aguirre's dream of striking out on his own and conquering. It's infeasible and illusory, but the characters discuss it as though it were actually possible, while their shoddily maintained civilization is destroyed around them. The raft getting stuck on the shore marks the end of this civilization. This ending demonstrates to us how Aguirre's dream of conquering the territory of the Amazon was doomed, but Aguirre's unshakable commitment to his mad fantasy reveals another point. At the end of the film, Aguirre is the only character left alive. The other characters have begun to disbelieve either Aguirre's potency, like Gaspar, or their own senses, like Okello. While Aguirre's fate is certain, his dream continues. The quote from Herzog, "I live my life or I end my life with this project," means that the only way to continue life with dreams is to keep striving to realize them no matter what. Aguirre survives the film in a way because he has not let go of his dream. Fitzcarraldo also holds on to his dream, leading him to realize some portion of it when he makes enough money to put on one opera show. Dreams, according to Herzog, are what differentiate us from the animals. For the people that follow them, they are potentially self-destructive, as with Aguirre, or self-realizing, as with Fitzcarraldo. But for such people, the only path is to follow your dreams, regardless of the consequences. This is the burden of dreams, found in Herzog and his characters.